Well, speaking of things that are a little bit fucked.
Yes.
Since I'm going to say since the late 80s, maybe into the early 90s.
Yes.
One of the alarmists' biggest, what do you want to call, crutch out there, people who are alarmists, is this whole fraud known as global warming.
Sure.
It went from this fear that everybody was going to get cancer because of this hole in the ozone.
Sure.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember all you ever heard about was, don't use aerosol sprays, there's a hole in the ozone, it's going to make it bigger.
Everything we did was going to kill us.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden that went away.
Yeah.
I don't know how that went away, but all you ever heard about was this hole in the ozone, and the ozone is thin, and the sun's rays are going to burn us all up, and we're all going to get skin cancer. And, you heard that for years, and then all of a sudden you never heard about it anymore.
You don't know how it went away?
How did it go away?
I can tell you the exact date it went away. November of 2016.
Really?
Yeah. The day Trump got elected was the day that fucking bullshit was stopped.
Well, no, I'm actually talking realistically here. I get the whole Trump election thing.
Yeah.
But I remember in the late 80s.
Yeah.
All you ever heard was there's a hole in the ozone and aerosol cans are making it bad.
Look in the chat room right now. Just line after line after line about better watch it that I might fuck the hole in the ozone.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Funny.
But I remember distinctly that was always a fear.
Sure.
And don't use aerosols, because that's what's making the hole in the ozone.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow, some way, the hole in the ozone was not an issue anymore.
Right.
Haven't heard anyone even use the term hole in the ozone in probably 25 years.
Yeah, that did go away.
It did go away.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing you heard was man-made global warming.
Oh, yeah. The ice caps are all melting.
You heard this. You heard man-made global warming. You heard it again and again and again.
Yep.
Well, that wasn't getting any traction. People were just like, it's fucking bullshit. Man-made global warming.
Right.
Well, then the terms man-made global warming went away.
Right.
All of a sudden, that disappeared.
Right.
Then it turned into just quote-unquote climate change.
Yes.
Which, in my mind, climate change, at least in the region of the world that I live in, happens 4 times a year.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yep. So, with the Trump, or not the Trump administration, but the Obama administration getting involved with this Paris, climate accord and all that other bullshit.
Sure.
This hysteria behind, you got to recycle everything, you got to do this, you got to do that. There's global warming.
Yeah.
Climate change, right? Global warming.
Are we out of that now?
No. Well,
Paris
we're not
thing?
out of it, but since, as you said, November 16th
What the date was.
Yeah. 2016, that has not been a priority.
Okay.
Of course, it still exists, and, the U.S. is the bad guy because Trump is like, this is fucking bullshit.
Right.
So, of course, Trump and anybody who believes that way, you're a climate change denier.
Right.
You're a denier. It's like you're a Holocaust denier or something.
Right.
Well, anyway, there was a story that released this week that, again, this goes to show you the hypocrisy and the bullshit that people eat up like tripe.
Right.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration may have a boring name,
Okay.
But it has a very important job. It measures U.S. temperatures.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it seems to be a captive of the global warming religion.
Right.
Its data is fraudulent.
Okay.
What do we mean by fraudulent? How about this? The NOAA has made repeated, quote-unquote, adjustments to its data for the presumed scientific reason of making the data sets more accurate.
Say that one more time?
It says that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as the NOAA, has made repeated adjustments to the data.
Okay, so they're forging the data.
Yeah, for the presumed scientific reason of making the data sets more accurate.
Right, okay.
So if you had a thermometer outside your house,
yeah,
and it said it was 80 degrees outside,
mm-hmm.
and you had an agenda,
yeah,
you would probably say, well, it's really not 88 degrees because there's a shade tree out there that the sun isn't shining directly on this thermometer.
Right.
So it's really not 88 degree or 80 degrees. It's probably more like 85 degrees. So I'm just going to say it's 85.
Yeah, we'll just do the adjustment for you.
We'll just make the adjustment.
Right.
Even though the atmospheric temperature around the thermometer was 80 degrees, you just assume because there was a tree in the yard and because the sun wasn't shining directly in that area, you made the adjustment to make it, quote unquote, more accurate.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that, except all their changes point to one thing. That is lowering previously measured temperatures to show cooler weather in the past and raising more recent temperatures to show warming in the recent present.
Right.
This creates a data illusion of ever-rising temperatures to match the increase in the CO2 in the Earth's atmosphere since the mid-1800s, which global warming activists say is the cause and effect relationship. The more CO2, the more warming.
Okay. Sounds normal to me.
Yeah, but the actual measured temperatures show something different.
All right.
There have been hot years and hot decades since the turn of the last century, and the colder years, and there have been colder years and colder decades. But the overall measured temperature shows no clear trend over the last century, at least not one that's just runaway warming.
Right.
That is until the NOAA statisticians adjusted the data. Using complex statistical models, they changed the data to reflect not reality, but their underlying theories of global warming.
Right.
That's clear from the simple fact of statistics. Data generated random errors which canceled out over time, so by averaging the data, the errors mostly disappear.
Okay.
That's not what the NOAA does. According to the NOAA, the errors aren't random. They're systematic. As we noted, all of their temperature adjustments lean cooler in the distant past and warmer in the recent past. But they're fuzzy about why this should be.
Yeah, because their data doesn't match what they want.
Well, it doesn't match the agenda.
Right, of course.
Far from legitimately adjusting anything, it appears they are cooking the data to show a politically correct trend toward global warming.
Right.
Not by coincidence, that has been part and parcel of the government's underlying policies for the better part of 2 decades. What the NOAA does aren't niggling little changes either. That's not a racist term, by the way.
Niggling?
Niggling. As Tony Heller at the Real Climate Science web notes, pre-2000 temperatures are progressively cooled and post-2000 temperatures are warmed.
Right.
This year has been a particularly spectacular episode of data tampering by the NOAA as they've introduced nearly 2.5 degrees of fake warming since 1895.
Right.
So the global warming scare is basically a hoax.
Right.
The winter, for instance, as measured by temperatures in city after city and by snowstorm severity, has been one of the coldest on record in the Northeast. But after the NOAA's wizards finished with the data, it was merely about average.
Yeah, it was hot.
Climate analysis Paul Homewood notes, for instance, that in New York State, measured temperatures this year were 2.7 degrees or more colder than it was in 1943.
Right.
Not to the NOAA, its data showed temperatures this year as 0.9 degrees colder than the actual data in 1943.
Okay.
So somehow almost 2 degrees just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
By the way, a similar result occurred after the brutally cold 2013-2014 winter in New York. It was simply adjusted away.
Mm-hmm.
Do this year after year, and with the goal of radically altering the temperature record to fit the global warming narrative, and you have what amounts to climate fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, of course, and if it's not addressed at the moment, at the very moment that it happens, then it's forgotten. Then there's nobody to question. Like who's going to go back and question 5 years ago's?
And also it develops a trend.
Mm-hmm, of course. But it's easier to hide the trend because nobody's going to look back at the old data. They're just going to go with the final stat.
Exactly.
Lame.
Clearly, NOAA's highly homogenized and adjusted version of the Central Lakes temperature record bears no resemblance at all to the actual station data.
Right.
And if this one division is so badly in error, what confidence can there be that the rest of the U.S. is any better?
Right.
That's the big question. And for those of you who think the government officials don't have political, cultural, or agendas, that's naivety. Is that how you say the word?
Naivety?
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Of the highest sort, because they do. Since the official government mantra for all the bureaucracies, at least since the Clinton era, is that CO2 production is an evil and it inevitably leads to runaway global warming, those who toil in the bureaucracies, statistical sweatshops, known that their careers and future funding depend on having the politically correct answers, not the scientifically correct ones. So basically, if there's this scientific or politically correct answer, then they can continue getting this government funding for their quote-unquote research.
Imagine that. It's about the money.
It's always about the money.
Of course. Everything always is, isn't it?
It is. The key point here is that while NOAA frequently makes these adjustments to the raw data, it has never offered a convincing explanation as to why it's necessary.
Right. Because it's not necessary. It's fucking bullshit.
Right. Nor yet how exactly their adjusted data provides a more accurate version of the truth than the original data.
Right.
There are at least some signs of progress, however. In the case of the Environmental Protection Agency, future reports and studies will include the data and the underlying scientific assumptions for public scrutiny.
Right.
That's one way to bring greater honesty to the government and to keep climate charlatans from bankrupting our nation with spurious demands for carbon taxes and deindustrialized of our economy to prevent global warming. The only real result won't be a cooler planet, but rather a mass poverty and lower standards of living for all.
So it's just another way for the globalists to control people.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Yeah. Do you know anybody who is really taken in with this whole global warming thing?
I mean, I knew people that would argue it, but I don't know that they truly believed it. They just were fucking regurgitating the bullshit that they were hearing out of Rachel Maddow's dumb mouth.
Right. Well, I do know a couple of people who really believe that they're making a difference by recycling plastic bottles and shit.
Put solar panels on their roof?
Well, I don't know if they go that far, but I'm just talking about they feel or believe that they have a purpose in life because they threw their plastic bottle in the recycling bin rather than throwing it in the garbage.
Do you do that?
Do I do what?
Sort your garbage between the recycling bin.
I don't sort it per se, but our city provides two different receptacles.
Okay, but do you actually take the time to split them up, or do you fill one and then fill the other?
No. What I do is I throw garbage into one, and I throw the plastic bottles and shit in the other.
I have one that I have here in the house, and I fill it up and I put it out there. One has a yellow lid, one has a green lid.
Yeah, that's the same thing here.
And I don't give a shit what goes in it. I fill one up and then I fill the other up.
Well, I don't make a lot of garbage. The actual garbage can, I probably put out to the curb maybe once every 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay.
That's how very little I use.
Yeah.
The actual recyclable can that I throw the bottles and the, glass and the plastics and all that shit in there, I put out there probably well, they just gave me a new one, which is much bigger than the original one. But I put that out every about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we just fill the one up and I take it out there. Whatever color it is, that's where it's going. I don't give a fuck.
Well, they're both right outside my kitchen door.
Okay.
So the recyclable is on the right and the garbage is on the left.
Yeah.
So, I have trash cans in the house, and everything that goes into the trash can go into the can on the left, and anything that's bottles and plastics and shit go in the can on the right.
Yeah.
I don't
think that hard.
I just don't throw it into the trash can. I just throw it into the recyclable can. But I don't think I'm serving a greater purpose by doing this.
Yeah.
Just, it's there. I have the receptacles. I just throw them in there.
I can't be bothered.
Okay.
I can't be bothered. I just throw it all into one, close the lid, stick it out there. They sort it anyway, so let them fucking do it.
Yeah.
Fuck them. They're not paying me.
Right.
And I'm paying them, so fuck them. They can do the work. I'm not going to do anything. Sure. I'm not going to help them.
Sure.
Fake ass cause.
But my point is I do know a couple of people that take this really seriously, like it's their life's mission or something.
Yeah.
And they really believe that they're making a difference out there.
Yeah. Do they?
They have that attitude. That's the whole attitude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Unless they've got solar panels on their roof and they're driving a hybrid, shut the fuck up. They better be driving a Tesla, a fucking electric car, or riding a bike, even better.
And see that's the whole misnomer about the electric cars and all that.
Yeah.
They have to plug that in, and where does electricity come from?
Yeah, it's generated from something, wind or coal or whatever.
It certainly isn't generated from wind.
Well, wherever.
But it's generated from either gas-fired power plants or coal-fired power plants.
Mm-hmm.
And the more power that you use to charge up your Tesla is the same amount of power that would have been generated if you bought gasoline.
Sure.
So there's no difference.
No. I'll tell you what, though. My brother has a Tesla. That is a fucking ridiculous ride.
In what regard?
I could see how you could die getting hit by one. You do not hear the thing. I mean, it makes no fucking noise.
Oh, so you're talking about being approached while you're walking on the street or something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dude, I mean, my brother's pulled up here to my house in his Tesla. And I mean, I don't, usually you hear a car pull up in the driveway, especially if I'm sitting in the living room, I'll know that there's a car in the driveway, right? I mean, he pulls up and it's like nothing. You don't hear a single sound, and it does have all kinds of crazy settings on it. It's not like a normal car, and even when it takes off, you don't hear any kind of like, brrr, you don't hear nothing. He hits the gas, it's just like, that's it, and it's going. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, the only thing you hear is the tires on the ground. That's all you hear.
Yeah.
It's crazy. To me, it's a dangerous ride. And the way my brother drives, it's a real dangerous ride that I'll never have.
Well, dangerous in what regard?
My brother or the car?
Well, the car. You said it's a real dangerous ride. What do you mean? It's danger for the pedestrians, or it's danger for the driver or the passengers, or what?
I'd say it's danger for anybody that's not in one, because you don't hear it. I mean,
so it's dangerous for people outside of the car.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even driving, dude, you know as well as I do, every one of us that has a driver's license and has driven more than an hour, there's been 1,000 times in your driving history where you start edging over and you realize there's a car there. It's just in your blind spot, or you didn't check, or, whatever. Okay. I'm not saying that you hit it. I'm just saying even for that split second, you know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Where you start edging. And a part of the reason that you don't hit that car is because your sixth sense almost hears that car when you get too close to it a little bit.
Okay.
There's a part of you that sees it in your mirror. There's a part of you that will catch it out of the corner of your eye. And there's a part of you that hears it. And all of that collected in that split second is how you automatically jerk the car back and go, whoa, I almost hit that fucker.
Okay.
Right? Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I agree with you. The thing is that if I've ever drifted in a lane, mm-hmm. and I'm drifting over to where another car is, it's not because I hear that other car.
No, but the combination of everything is how you catch yourself. It's the combination of maybe catching it in your mirror, maybe catching it in your peripheral, or maybe hearing it because you got closer to it to where you hear the car.
Right.
And man, oh man, that Tesla, you ain't hearing that for nothing.
Right.
You won't hear it. You couldn't hear that over your radio in your car at like 5. I don't know how loud your radio goes, but if you have it at like 5, low, you won't hear it. You wouldn't hear it over a phone call. There's just no way.
Mm.
It's a quiet, scary, quiet ride. And if you're walking, forget it. If you're walking around fucking dicking around on your phone and the guy that's driving the Tesla is not paying any attention, you're just dead. Because you sure as fuck ain't going to hear that car until your legs are fucking cut off underneath it. You're just not going to hear it.
Right.
It's bad.
So what is the reason not that I have any issue with it, but what is the reason that your brother owns a Tesla? Why a Tesla? Have you talked to him about that?
Oh yeah, because he's a car guy.
Okay.
And he makes an ass load of money.
Okay.
And he could afford it. That's really what it was for him. He could afford the $100,000 for a car, so he bought it. It was one he had not had before. I mean, he's always been a car guy. I mean, when we were kids, when we were young, when I was like 20 and he was 18, he bought his first Porsche. He bought a Porsche with fucking money he made at fucking Domino's Pizza. He used to fucking work 6 days a week, work 12 hours a day, saved up all his money, and bought a 911. When he was 18 years old, and he's had Porsches, and he's. Dude, at one of my parties, I don't know if you remember this, but my friend Scotty hit his car backing out, and he hit his Porsche. What was it, a Porsche Carrera or something?
Okay.
He hit it, and my friend Scotty was completely wigged out, thinking that it was going to be just an insurance nightmare because he crashed in a fucking Porsche. So, he's always had these Porsches.
So he bought it more or less as a novelty.
He did, yeah.
Okay, it wasn't because he's one of these environmental wonks oh my God, I'm doing my part.
Please, he would drain the oil in his bathtub if he could. He doesn't give a fuck about that. But he wanted to have that car. It was a car that not many people could own, and he wanted it.
All right,
so he
cool. Well, I'm cool with that. I mean, again, I see these people who drive these Priuses.
Yeah.
And I hate Prius drivers with a passion because they are some of the worst. They're a driving nightmare.
Are they?
They are a driving nightmare.
Why?
For some reason, they're the worst drivers out there. There are 3 people that I really watch out for.
Blacks?
No, I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the type of cars.
Okay.
I watch out for Buicks because usually it's an old person driving it.
Right.
I watch out for minivans because it's a distracted soccer mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch out for Priuses because they're just nerds that probably shouldn't be on the road at all. And they have no sense about driving.
Does the Prius usually come with a girl driving and the guy in the passenger
No,
seat?
I don't notice that so much, but Prius drivers are just idiots. they're just the worst fucking drivers out there.
The minivan is definitely the woman driver, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The minivan, it's always a woman driving that.
And I when I go into Chicago every day to go to work, I take the Indiana toll road, and a good portion of the toll road is 3 lanes.
Okay.
There's always a woman got her car in the left lane, the far left lane, always, and
going 60.
60. The speed limit is 70, but I drive about. On an average, I drive about 80 to 85.
Okay.
And there's always some woman driving in the far left lane and will not move.
Yeah. I'm going to show you.
Well, I don't think it's even that. It's just this right to be there or something. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. But whenever I have to go around them on the right, it's always a woman just tooling along there in the left lane.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
Do you flip her off on your way past her?
No, I don't. I just kind of look at them hard and just burn on by them, but you can hear my car.
Well, yeah. Your car is a fucking muscle car.
It's a beast.
Yeah, your car's a...
It does.
Yeah.
So
I hate that, and I really hate more than probably anything when you're in a 2-lane highway and the fucking trucks get side by side.
Oh yeah, go side by side and they can't pass each other.
Well, they don't choose to.
Well, the thing is that, and what people don't understand, I don't want to get into a whole auto show here, but
sure.
But especially company-owned trucks, they're governed out at 70. That's as fast as they can go, 70 or 65 or 68 or whatever the company chooses to be the top speed. No matter how hard you press that accelerator pedal, that's as fast as it'll go. It governs out at 68, and that's it. So if they get up alongside another truck that can only do 68 or 70, they're just going to ride side by side.
Yeah, well, they need to back off it. One of them needs to back down.
I agree. I completely agree.
That should be part of the driver thing. If you go more than 10 seconds side by side with a truck, another truck, you should fucking hit your brake and back off. Or if you're just in the inside lane. If you're on the inside lane, slow the fuck down.
Yep.
Slow down and fucking let the other dickhead over. Drives me nuts, especially going to fucking Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I call that civilian traffic control.
Oh, I hate it. It's like because I'll get stuck behind them and they'll go like 13 miles.
Oh, I know.
And it's like, you fucking jizz bucket, move the fuck over.
Yeah, one of them needs to back off and let the other one by, or the other one needs to back off and slide in behind.
Yeah, but they never do. It's like, well, I'm not giving up my spot. I'm in the fast lane, going as fast as I can.
Yep.
And that's the guy, but it's the other guy that should back off. The guy in the slow lane should go slower. The guy in the fast lane should not slow down. The guy in the slow lane should slow down.
Well, as a former truck driver myself, I've seen it many times, and I understand how that happens. Yeah. You get behind another truck that's fairly heavy loaded, and you get on the hill area, and they can't make the hills, and so you get out in the left lane to pass them, and then you get on a straightaway, and then they hit the top speed, which is the same as your top speed, and now you're stuck.
Right. Well, get off the highway when I'm driving, goddammit. That's all I care about. When you see my car, get out of the way.
Yeah, move over, pal.
Yeah, fancy man coming through.
Exactly.
Come on. Anyway.
All right.